the chain of equivalences, you'd realize that they're also making recommendations about the prohibiting the advocacy of hatred, which again relates to freedom of expression, because we have a problem with hate speech in this country, on the social media and everywhere else. So, what we do, and we should do, is look at the recommendations in its totality. Look at the pros, look at the cons, look at where it's about rights, where it's about responsibilities, and look at how we need to address those things in totality. One of the other things, and I'm so glad you asked these two questions, Honorable Bulitabu, the other thing that we need to do in this country is we need to understand how to interpret limitations under the Constitution. So if people stop being, sarcastic on Twitter and become self-anointed human rights, lawyers and advocates, if they stop bragging and being sarcastic and trashing and showing the world how smart they are, and I think these people know who they are and who I'm taking a jab at the moment, and if they just stopped and became a good lawyer for 5 minutes and taught the whole country what the Oakes formula is. If you knew the Oakes formula, you'd know how to interpret limitations in our Constitution. That it must be legitimate, it must be prescribed by law, it needs to be proportionate, it must meet a pressing social need, so on and so forth. So if politicians stop fighting with me and trashing me, got into this conversation and said, hey, Mr. Raj, what is the Oakes formula all about? How can we use this to interpret limitations? Fiji will have a very different kind of conversation. Unfortunately, what's happening in Fiji is you'll have this side, which will have a particular kind of political position. You'll have this side, which is, snarling like a Rottweiler ready to attack. You can't have a national conversation if you're going to be like that. You need to come together, you need to be calm, you need to be rational, you need to have read, you need to know your stuff and say, all right, these are the various positions that animate this one particular issue. How do we find a solution? How do we find a meeting ground? So, understanding what the Oakes formula is. You know what one of the lawyers did when we investigated the Navua case? This lawyer, who's very active on Twitter and on the social media, quickly says, oh, come on, Ashwin, have the gumption to call it police brutality. I had to tell everybody, and I had to go on national television to say, excuse me, this person of all people, because he's a self-anointed human rights lawyer, should know that when we say cruel, degrading, inhuman treatment, it means torture. It means brutality. It means emotional torture, not just physical torture. So the kind of games that our educated people play in this country, when they can be doing so much good by educating everybody to say, hey guys, these are the limits in law, this is how we interpret, these are the definitions, this is what it means, this would be a different country. This would be a different conversation, right? But the elite in this country, the elite lawyers of this country, who purport to be human rights lawyers, are doing very little because everybody likes a house divided. Everybody likes a house divided because that's where they get their little political capital from. So if we were to change then and have a robust, intelligent discussion about human rights, you'd see that there's a way out of this intractability. We just need to be committed to finding solutions. And I think the entire country can learn from the Standing Committee and the model of the Standing Committee. Look how we're discussing. Everybody knows him and I have political differences, but him and I are able to reason across our political differences in a calm, rational manner. He's not swearing at me. I'm not swearing at him. And we're raising all of these issues despite the fact that we have all of these political differences. If we can do it in a civilized manner, so can the entire country. But for that to happen, our media needs to stop inciting hatred. Our media needs to stop dividing and manipulating people for their narrow parochial agenda of profit making. Our lawyers need to stop, being sarcastic on the social media and actually engage the issues in a robust manner. We need to learn what the meaning of democratic dissent is and how do we disagree fundamentally on issues without necessarily attacking somebody's race or religion because they believe in things that are different from us. That would also mean trying to understand what democracy